It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Wednesday, March 15th, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what is happening on this wonderful and awesome Wednesday? Yes, we got current news from around the world, the word study on the early Christian church, and of course, health is happiness with Dr. Abe from Australia. Woo! Another two big three sighs now. And it is Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. It's usually the hardest day because it's smack in the middle. But, for us here, it's a little bit more difficult because of things and rumors and all these things going around. But for me, super thankful. I want to just give thanks to God for this podcast. I want to thank God that I've been able to keep this going for the last 2 years, 2 and some odd years, when it hits in 2 days. Well, today's the 15th, which means tomorrow will be my 3-year anniversary for this podcast. So I am super grateful and thankful. Actually, my first podcast was on March 17th and 2020, I believe. But I was inspired by the 316 message the day before, and I recorded the podcast on March 16th. So that's why I considered a very good anniversary. The day I started it was March 16th. So tomorrow will be 3 years and running for this podcast. And one thing I do see as I give thanks to God, I'll give even more thanks tomorrow, but God has kind of made this platform. We've been building it, and it's made just for these times. Like, I'm thinking about, God, you have provided a platform for us, especially at these times, right? These chaotic times where we can kind of come together and come with a clear conscience and a clear heart. Now, when I say clear conscience, we're all clear consciences because we only hear what we hear. We don't know if it's true or not. So we come with clear consciences, right? We're like, all right, God, we don't even know what's true. And we're all into confirming it. And I hope that, this podcast continues until the day I die. That's what I hope, right? Well, I hope by the time I get to, a certain age that there will be like another generation of people taking over. Excuse me. That's what I really, really hope, right? But like I said, I am super thankful. I'm becoming even more grateful these days, and I think that's something that has to happen even more. The thankfulness thread has started. Kiera Williams, she started something called the thankfulness thread, and I added to it. But then I realized the thankfulness thread already started below it. So Kiera, if you're out there, I just want to let you know I erased it because the thankfulness thread is right below, and it started by, I believe it started by, who's it started by? It started by Seong, I think, right? I think Seong's the one that started it, and she didn't put thankfulness thread, which I think would have been really, really good. But Kier, it's already started. There's only like 5, 6, 7 people on that one there, so I think we're gonna keep that thread. So Kier, if you could, please put your thankfulness add to that thread, just so that people don't get confused which one to actually do. So I didn't do it because I don't like you. It's just because I'm mistaken. Like, there was already a thankfulness thread right below it. Okay. So today I don't really have a lot of script right now because just a lot of things on my mind. I think we got to be honest about certain things. But before I get into any of that, first things first is Q&A Thursday is tomorrow. I've already got a couple questions coming in, so go ahead, keep sending in your questions for that. And SoundCloud, very, very interestingly, one of the hard parts about SoundCloud, it's excuse me, it is quite expensive. But I think SoundCloud may actually be the only other way, because Spotify, I can't put any of my podcasts on Spotify because I have copywritten music on it, so it won't allow me to put it on Spotify. So I do think SoundCloud is the best one. The only reason I wanted to stop it is because it was kind of expensive and stuff. But there have been some people who are generously donating just in the last couple of days, and I think I can kind of switch those funds over to SoundCloud again. So I think that it's going to work there. I think it can work there. So I will probably make a decision very, very soon, because March 17th is right around the corner before I cancel my account. So maybe I might just stick with SoundCloud because that place I can put anything on there and there's no like copyright rules and stuff like that too. So, all right. So yesterday I did talk about the 33-minute leaders meeting message that from Pastor Joan that was put on Palm TV and then eventually put onto YouTube. The big question was there something there that talked about Pastor Joan like admitting anything about what Sunseam did, right? And when I looked at that 33-minute one, it could have been suggestive in some parts, but I didn't really see anything that like, oh, okay. It mainly felt like she was very sincere and honest about repenting about all the things that we need to fix in Providence and then move forward. The 2-hour message, I'm listening to that right now too, looking at certain parts also where people are saying this is where she says it. And, before I get into anything else, I think there is someone actually sent me this 7 things that kind of words of advice to all members. And I think this is very, very important that before we hear anything and before anything is absolutely like confirmed. And, for me is, I'll tell you what the biggest thing for me after I go into that 2-hour message kind of thing, right? But this is the first thing I want to tell everyone. And I'm very grateful for a good friend of mine to send me this. And 7 things that words of advice for all members. All right. Number 1 is, stay calm, don't panic, empty your thoughts, and pray. Wisdom comes from the Trinity. And that's a big amen. And I think you can make a sermon in that itself. And I do think it's a true thing. When you start to panic, when you're not calm, your thoughts go wild and you start making irrational decisions. Stay calm, don't panic, empty your thoughts, and pray. All right? The second thing, the second words of advice is, don't prejudge anyone or anything. We're not in a position to judge as we are not the judge, nor the person involved, and we don't know the full facts. And I think that is one of the biggest things for us is, especially those of us who are in the foreign countries, we have no idea the full situation, all the evidence or the facts or whatever's going on in Korea or where we hear these rumors, right? So we're not, ultimately we're not the ones to judge. We're not the ones fully involved. We don't know the full facts. So don't prejudge. Don't look bad on people. Don't say these people are bad or this or that. Let's not make anything personal, but we just don't know everything. And that's why we don't prejudge anything, right? Don't make any hasty decisions. Words of advice number 3, right? Under the law, an accused is innocent until proven guilty. Sunseam has not been proven guilty, and there is also no concrete evidence against him. Only hearsay, which means someone said, but no one else was there, and bare allegations and audio recordings of unproven authenticity. Leave it to the judicial process and the people in charge to resolve this. Now, if there are people making allegations, leave it to them to take legal action and let it be sorted out by the authorities or people who are in charge of this. It's not for regular members to deal with, right? So a lot of times if they have something, they have a gripe, an accusation, whatever it is, let them be. Let them make their things. Let them make their charges, whatever they need to do. Let the authorities go through that, all right? Words of advice number 4. Don't trust anyone, even the highest pastors, and don't believe anything unless you check with your own eyes and hear with your own ears. There are too many rumors going around right now. And I do think a lot of times we are hearing things from people who heard from someone else, And even at the highest level of pastors, just don't believe everything, right? And check it. Make sure you heard it with your own ears. You saw it with your own eyes. Because like I said, I'm sure all of you guys are in that same position where it's like, holy smokes, how many rumors are there? Number 5, don't forget the word, right? And I think that's something that we're starting to lose sight of because we're looking too much at what is going on around us, right? Don't forget the character of Sunseam that you have known and seen personally firsthand all these years. You can't get rid of that, right? You've seen him. You know what he's like. Don't forget your personal experiences and how God worked on you in your time in Providence, all the signs and miracles, how God answered your prayers. don't forget the grace, the revelations, the miracles, and signs you received in providence. Remember why you're here in the first place, right? It's like Sunseem said, if you forget, you will die, right? If we forget all the stuff that happened in the past, and even for me, when it comes to the word, that's one of the biggest things is the reason why I'm here myself is not because of any person. It was because of the word. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I came from the former faith, right? And for me is like, this is not ordinary. This is something that an ordinary person cannot receive. So don't forget the past. Don't forget the word. Don't forget all the Sunseem that you know, right? Don't let someone come in and tell you that all the Sunseem that you know is completely false, even though you've experienced him yourself, right? Number 6, keep your own position and mission, right? If it's not your mission to be involved with it, don't bother getting into it. Like, don't sit there spreading allegations unless you know for certain they are true. Don't take sides. Don't be biased. Stay objective. Stay neutral, right? And I do understand. Sometimes even me, myself, sometimes the emotion comes in like, oh! But you have to keep in mind, keep your position and your mission. If it's not your mission, if you're not the people who are like, let's just say like the defense team that's in charge of it, like there's no point of going in. There's no point of you spreading it and trying to get other people to, hey, what do you think about this? Like, don't take sides. Don't be biased. Stay objective. Stay neutral, right? Someone says, is the lawyer mindset the right one to have? And the answer is, I think it's the only one to have, to be honest, right? Looking at it objectively. Has nothing to do with the relationship. It has nothing to do with everything else. It's not about because I know this person. It's all about the evidence itself. What are they going to show me to show? Because if that's the case, then anyone can say anything. You're going to believe everything just because they're someone close to you? No, you have to be very objective about this. Keep your position. Keep your mission. If your mission has nothing to do with this, don't get involved, right? Don't start telling other people stuff, right? Don't take sides. Don't be biased. Stay objective. Stay neutral, right? So that's why even for me, when I start talking about certain things, I want to be neutral. I don't want to sit there and say, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. No, that's just trying to stir up panic, and I don't want that, right? Last but not least, number 7, I think this is a great one. Hang on till the end of 2023. Those who go until the end of 2023 will be blessed. We already knew from many decades ago that something explosive would happen in 2023. The prophecy is being fulfilled now. Go to the end and see, right? Yes, 9.5 months away, guys. It seems like forever, right? For me, honestly, it's felt like each month is a year. I'm going to be honest with you guys. That's how it feels. But we have 9.5 months left, right? And, especially those of you, like for myself, I've been promised for 25 years. 9.5 months is nothing. So for me let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. So those are the 7 points of advice. And I do think it's very, very big words of wisdom, right? And I really hope that all of us too will really be able to take those into consideration, right? So when it comes to the 2-hour episode, I'm going to stay in a neutral position here, right? And the reaction has been very different in Korea. So the rumor is that, Pastor Joan is saying that, oh my gosh, Sunseem is guilty and Sunseem did all these things. Let's be clean and let's get it all aired out kind of thing, right? I am looking at the parts. So I'm going to tell you right now is I haven't fully looked into the parts itself, right? So I know the timestamps of where to look and where to listen to. So I am listening to that. I have listened to it once. And I can see how people can think, people can look at that and say, well, she said it, right? And of course, in it, she's not specific, but it looks like she is talking about it, right? And saying it in that way. And I'm going to say the reason why it's so chaotic is because, like in Korea, there's like 2 sides on it. One is completely against and one is completely for, right? So I do think for myself, when I look at this, coming from someone on the outside who's not in the country, who does not have all the information, I don't know the situation context, but I did hear what she said, and I'm going to listen to it again, and I'm going to be like, all full transparency, guys, my Korean's not perfect, and that's why I do ask other people what they heard too. I do ask them, right? Because I'm like, you got better Korean than me, so what did you hear? And so far, most of the people do say she does say it. Most people do say that. So coming from a very neutral position and someone who doesn't want to jump the gun, right? But I understand, why it could be so wild and chaotic in Korea. And one thing I do want to look at is, which I think this is a very, very good indicator, is Sunseem's response, right? Like if there's going to be a response where, if we see how Sunseem responds to this, then we can get a little bit better of an idea of what's going on, right? And that's why for me is I'm still in that wait and see position. It sounds bad. I'm not there. I don't have full context, full situation. I do know like there's not just that rumor. There's tons of other rumors going around too that I don't even want to get into because I'm not there. It's such a headache. Like for me, I'm trying to check everything, right? And I really want to do it so everyone's going to be like, oh, okay. But there's just too many rumors that I just don't want to check it. And then I don't want to sit there and judge something when I don't know the context behind it. Let me give you an example, right? Let me give you an example is, like for instance, if there's a rumor out that, oh my gosh, they all watched the Netflix documentary together kind of thing like that, right? Then I would be more inclined to say like, I'm someone who's into full transparency, and the thing that I would be very, very upset about is if they're forcing people to, and people who are not ready, don't want to, are kind of pushed into it. Like I'd be very upset about that. But people can handle it. I think they should, there shouldn't be an issue with people who can really, really handle it. And that's why the people watch it, and people who don't want to, that's why I left a summary for you guys here, right? So that's why it's for me is I'm like, okay. So another thing that's quite interesting is I do want to look at what Sunseem's response is to this, and I'm hoping that a response will come up fairly quickly, right? So in Korea, as we know, the climate of the country of Korea, it is very, very opinionated. Word gets around very quickly. People form arguments or form sides quickly. So I don't want us to be like that. I think that's something that God would be very, very sad about if it's premature or hasty. Does that make sense, guys? Like I don't want people to be premature in taking a side. And I'm not sure, does God want us to take a side until we're like, oh, this is what Sunseem's response is. You know what I mean? So that is why, for me, and I hope that everyone here too, like those 7 things I just talked about, I hope that all of us will think about it in that way, right? Don't just think about it like, oh my gosh, don't panic. This history is going to be bigger than just this 1 year, what happens in this year. All right, so that's kind of the advice that I have. And like I said, my Korean is not perfect. I did listen to the parts that people were telling me to listen to of that 2-hour audio. I do need to listen to outside parts of it to understand the context of it. And I am already asking other people in Korea who've already listened to the entire 2 hours what their thoughts were on it, what they feel that she said, or what they know that she said, if you interpret it, whatever it is. But a lot of people are confirming that she did say that. And for me is, like I said with the 7 things, don't be, I don't want to panic anything else. I'm going to wait on it for a little bit. I'm going to study it a little bit more, talk to some more people about what they heard from it. And I don't want to get riled up and panic. And I don't want to make a hasty decision. I don't want to take sides. I'm going to wait and see, wow, God, what is going to happen from this? And we'll let God be the judge on this one here. But of course, we do need to be informed. And that's why for you guys, I am looking into that 2-hour thing. And I have looked at certain parts. And I took the advice that came from those 7 steps. And I'm not the judge. And I don't want to take a side, be neutral, because there are things I don't know what's going on. All right. So if you know, of course, you guys have any other things that are in mind, you guys can go ahead and DM me, right? Maybe not in the comments, but you guys can DM me about this too, because I know a lot of people are wondering, like some people don't even know what the rumors are, but probably by the time, this weekend turns, I think we will be getting some types of answers and more confirmations and stuff like too, right? So I am someone who is a waiter. Not in a restaurant, not a server. I'm a waiter, meaning I'm going to wait until things are absolutely confirmed. And then once they're confirmed and once I can see Sunseam's reaction too, then I'll be able to say, okay. So this is kind of what we see that's happening right now. And I think one of the most important things we want to do, and I think this is something very, very important to everyone, is we just don't want to be in a position where we're judging people. You know what I mean? Like even people who are saying stuff, they're saying because they really truly believe it. They really believe it. We're not here we can't tell them like, oh, how dare you believe that way? We can't tell them that either. And in most cases, I would say in most cases, the intent is probably good in most cases. I'm sure there's always going to be bad apples here and there, but in most cases, I do think the intent is good. I do think so. So I want to be on that level where I don't want to talk bad about people. Like that's not the thing that we should be doing. All right. So that is what's going on. And if as I get more and more confirmation and when it's absolutely clear, then I'll be like, hey, this is actually what was said and what happened. And this is kind of what is happening here. And I leave it up to you guys what you guys want to do. And I hope that all of us, if anything, clear your hearts. Don't go in with emotion. Don't panic and pray. If anything, whatever happens, it's not about God, right? It's not sitting there like, oh my gosh, God, you're doing. No, it's like my belief in God is absolute, right? Keep listening. My advice would be is don't listen to too many rumors or else you're going to get too caught up into this deep rabbit hole you'll never get out. And I do think it's something that we will be like, okay, guys, so what's next? What's the next step? And that's something that I think that all of us, we should do in a very clear and calm manner. All right. Today also, I know that's quite serious, but I'm going to transition into today's health is happiness, and I'm very, very grateful and thankful, especially, and I think we should give a big round of applause to all the doctors that are working on this because it's quite amazing that they're putting in their time as doctors in their respective countries. And Dr. Abe, once again, I am becoming, I think he should start his own TV show. Dr. Abe, and you know what? And he's from Rapture Collective, so I think he should be rapping. I think he should be rapping his health is happiness section. But Dr. Abe is going to talk about the spleen today, right? And I think that's a very, the more and more we learn, like all these different body parts, and when Dr. Abe talks about them and when Dr. Zinni talks about it too, it's very interesting because you realize the importance of every part, no matter how big or how small they are. And it reminds us of us as the body of Christ that we all have important positions, right? But like those 7 tips today, stick with your mission. If your mission is not to be the spleen, then don't do the spleen things. Don't go out investigating and finding out. There's no point of that, right? I hope that all of us can be very level-headed. Don't forget all the grace and love you've received, and let's become people that understand this history and understand that and realize that we don't really know everything, and that's why we have to kind of take a step back. We're not there either. Okay, so let's get into some music from member artists from around the world. And I'm going to start off because Dr. Abe is going to be talking today. One of the first songs from Rapture Collective from last year, I believe. And this song is All My Thanks and Love. This is a song that kicked off everything. And now we have like 6-7 songs already from Rapture Collective. All My Thanks and Love. And then we have The Sky from Japan. One of my favorite songs from them is Home. And I think a lot of us do want to go home. Meaning we want to be back in a place of comfort where our minds are not going bouncing left and right. And last but not least, great song from Youngse. This is I'm Proud of Us. Okay.
り特に変わりはしないからいつもの笑顔のまま明るくやり過ごそう眉間にシワを寄せたあなたも可愛いけどその顔で長くいるのはとても疲れるでしょうさあ手を取って歩き出そう僕らの家へ帰ろう二人なら乗り越えられるから僕らの家へ帰ろうもうその涙拭って鼻水も噛んじゃいな繋いだ手固く握って離したりはしないから僕らの温かな方帰ったらいつものさあ手を取って歩き出そう僕らの家へ帰ろう二人なら乗り越えられるから僕らの家へ帰ろう
It's been a long year, but I'm still here. Feels like a long time, had a lot on my mind. And every ghost that haunted me, in His name I overcame. And I know there were things I wanted to show. There were promises I couldn't keep. And there were times I didn't feel the fire. But I am here, so I'm proud of me. You've been holding on, dear, and you're still here. It was a tough fight, many nights with tears. You managed to smile through your fears, and with His words you overcame. There were times you thought you would never And I know there were things you wanted to show. There were promises you couldn't keep. There were times you didn't feel the fire. But you are here, so I'm proud of you. There were days I thought this was so cold, but the vision we have never gets old. The dreams of 1,000 years should be told. The dreams of God should be told. And I know there were things we wanted to show. There were promises we couldn't keep. You have regrets, I have them too. But the purpose we're holding on to, yeah, the purpose we're holding on to, we're cut out to do. We're cut out to do.
And there it is. That is Youngse from South Africa with a very moving and inspiring song that is I'm Proud of Us. Before that, it's Home from The Sky over there in Japan. And of course, that first song feature artist of the day. One of my favorite groups, of course, Rapture Collective from Australia. And they the very first song they came out with, All My Thanks and Love. And of course, we have Dr. Abe in there as the first rapper. So a lot of good memories from that also. All right, so now that we have that time of, of listening to some member artists from around the world, we're in current news already, but there was just not an announcement, but in Korea, it seems that there's a group of Whitestone members that have put out an announcement to the rest of Korea on what their stance is. So I think I will take a look at that, translate it, and give it to you guys tomorrow, so that you guys, I need to take a look at it. I get to find out what the source is. Are they really speaking on behalf of everyone in the Whitestone Church, or is it just a small minority? Like, there's a lot of things that need to be checked. And like I said, I don't want to just all of a sudden, flash news, hot news coming out. I don't want to do that. That's the last thing I want to do, is to give out news when I don't even know what the source is. I don't know where it's coming from and stuff like that also. Okay, so I will get into some other news that we do need to pray for when it comes to the entire world. And I'm going to start off with the US, UK, and Australia. It is the AUKUS deal, and I talked about this on Monday, about agreeing on nuclear submarine project. The US, UK, and Australia have unveiled details on their plan to create a new fleet of nuclear-powered submarines aiming at countering China's influence in the Indo-Pacific region. Now, under the AUKUS Pact, Australia is to get its first nuclear-powered sub, at least 3 from the US, and the Allies will also work to create a new fleet using cutting-edge tech, including UK-made Rolls-Royce reactors. Beijing has strongly criticized a significant naval deal. Its foreign ministry on Tuesday accused the 3 nations of walking further and further down the path of air in danger. China's UN mission had earlier also accused the Western allies of setting back nuclear non-proliferation efforts, but US President Joe Biden said the deal was aimed at bolstering peace in the region and stressed the submarine would be nuclear-powered, not nuclear-armed. Right, so that is quite interesting to see there. In second news, we'll go to Cyclone Freddy over there in Mozambique and Malawi. And already the death toll has passed 100 people. Malawians are digging through mud for survivors. Mozambique officials say fallout from the storm's second landfall was worse than expected. More than 100 people have been killed in Malawi and Mozambique after Cyclone Freddy, packing powerful winds and torrential rain, returned to southern Africa's mainland. Freddy barreled through southern Africa at the weekend for the second time in a few weeks, making a comeback after it first hit in late February. Malawi bore the brunt, counting at least 99 deaths. So 99% is there after a mudslide overnight washed away houses and sleeping occupants. Another 134 people were injured and 16 are reported missing. Malawi's commercial capital, Blantyre, recorded 85 deaths. And of course, the numbers are expected to rise. They are, right? And that's something that we do have to take into consideration. This is coming from Disaster Management Affairs over there in Malawi and Mozambique. In Mozambique, at least 10 people died and 14 were wounded. So we're looking at about 109 people so far, and probably about 150 people that are injured so far. And the Mozambique National Institute for Disaster Management said the fallout from the storm's second landfall in the country was worse than expected. So prayers go out to all those people out there in Mozambique and Malawi, and we hope that we give our condolences and prayers to all the families that have lost loved ones. Last but not least, we'll go to North Korea. In North Korea, they fired 2 more missiles. The second test in 3 days, and launches come as the U.S. and South Korea carry out large-scale military exercises North Korea sees as rehearsals for an invasion. North Korea has fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles into waters off its east coast, its second show of strength this week as South Korea and the United States conduct their biggest military exercises in years. The missiles were fired in a window of about 10 minutes from 7:41 a.m. local time on Tuesday morning, and South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said, "Our military has strengthened surveillance and vigilance in preparation for additional launches while maintaining a full readiness posture through close cooperation between South Korea and the United States." Right? So, Japan's also collecting information on that too, so let's see what happens there. Okay, so there it is, guys. That is the top news around the world. When it comes to the world news, and I hope it's something that all of you guys can really, look at and pray a lot about too. Some sporting news. I don't have a lot. In the NBA, John Morant, who's already missed like 4 games, but is still indefinite suspension, they say. He is now entering counseling program. So they don't know when he's actually coming back. And he was the one that filmed himself on Instagram Live in a strip club with a gun. So it's kind of like, that's something that the NBA does not want. In NFL news, the Las Vegas Raiders have signed Jimmy Garoppolo of the San Francisco 49ers to a 3-year, $67.5 million contract, and $34 million of that is guaranteed, which means it's a very, very, very cheap deal if you think about it for a quarterback. In Major League Baseball news, also in NFL news, the Bears continuing a spending spree, and they spend $72 million on Edmonds, who's an inside linebacker. I think they've done a lot already. They traded away their first-round draft pick over, it's going to come this weekend. Their first-round draft pick, the first overall pick has been traded to the Carolina Panthers for DJ Moore, which is their best receiver. And then on top of that, they get this year's number 9, next year's number 1, this year's number 2, and 2 years later number 2. So great snag for the Bears, and they, it looks like they have a lot of cap space too. So we're hoping for a lot of great things to happen over there. Tampa Bay Bucks have re-signed Dean to 4 years, $52 million, and Falcons are signing Jesse Bates to a 4-year, $64 million deal. So. And 49ers bolstered their defense. How crazy that is. They got Hargraves, like the best defensive person on the market, 4-year, $84 million deal. Either way. So there it is, guys. That's top news in sports. And I hope it's something that you guys, it's a little bit of a break from all the craziness. But I hope it helps us out to get away. And also the world news helps us to pray for those things we should be praying for anyways. Okay? So there it is, guys. That's the news from around the world in sports and, whatever news it is around the world. So you know what that means. It is the golden time. Yes, this is the golden time, a time of praise and worship to the Holy Trinity. Hope all of you guys are looking forward to giving glory to God and the Holy Spirit. So, what are we going to praise and worship today? We're going to kind of do a slow set today to calm our hearts. We're going to start off with From One Seed and then My Confession to the Lord, and we'll end things off with Thanksgiving of Love. So, as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's spend this time giving praise, honor, and glory to the Holy Trinity.
they sent us one seed. That seed was sown and blossomed on the earth. And from that seed, history of the New Testament grew. From one seed, that golden field was made. Now that history has passed and gone away, a new time has come, a new seed has been sown upon this earth. And from that seed alone, the field of heaven grows, the harvest goes on, as spirits rapture up to you. Oh my Lord, you gave yourself and became the seed of heaven sown upon the earth. I'll tell the world about that love, how you fulfilled the will of God. I will preach till I can't preach anymore. Like you, I'll be a seed. Now, like a seed becomes a golden field, I will sow my life and spread this history all throughout the world. And just as you, my Lord, were thankful all the time, I will do the same. I'll harvest and transform myself. Oh my Lord, you gave yourself and became the seed of heaven sown upon the earth. I'll tell the world about that love, how you fulfilled the will of God. I will preach till I can't preach anymore. Oh my Lord, my only love, you have called me to the new history that like a seed. You took my spirit to that place. You made me triumph through your grace. So I'll offer thanks and love to you, Lord, my bridegroom evermore. I will offer thanks and love to you, Lord, as I become a seed. I recall when I first met you, my Lord, how I made up my mind, how I decided I would learn from you only, focusing on this word alone. I have seen how you really live your life. I have seen for myself. Now I will not be shaken, whatever comes. I have seen you, Lord, so how could I share? I will serve you, Lord, you who are the King of 10,000 kings. And I'll love you, Lord, forever as my bridegroom. I'll love you more. You've become my Forever is my bridegroom, I'll love you more. You've become my everything. I've given all my life to you. Please use me according to your will. Everything, the work you've done, the word you breathe, I can testify that all these things are true. I preach with the spirit of truth. I will serve you, Lord. You who are the King of 10,000 kings. And I'll love you, Lord. Forever is my bridegroom, I'll love you more. You've become my everything. I've given all my life to you. Please use me according to your will. I will serve you, Lord. You who are the King of 10,000 kings. And I'll love you, Lord. Forever is my bridegroom, I'll love you more. You're the only one I know. There's no one else, there's nothing more. I love you, so please receive my love. You're the only one I love. There's no one else, there's nothing more. I love you, so please receive my love. Give thanks with joy. Pray and converse without end. In the past, Almighty God, Holy Spirit, omniscient, omnipotent, in their perfect love, they were by our side, always helping. In their grace they saved us from the life of death, and they helped us countless times. They saved our lives, they poured out their love. So we give glory and thanks. All the money in the whole world couldn't repay all they've done for us. We will show our thanks only through love. Our hearts burning, we'll give thanks daily
And what a great song. That song is Thanksgiving of Love. Before that was My Confession to the Lord. Is probably one of my all-time favorites, and then From One Seed. Okay, so there it is, guys. That is the time of praise and worship. Hope it really just opens your hearts and minds, and just really gives you a time to feel God. Like I told you guys, like on Sunday, just a couple of us got together inside the cafe of the church. It was unplanned. There was no announcement. We just went there to praise, and I really felt that it was something that just we were able to come together and praise because we wanted to praise, not because it was a planned event. And I think that's something that 2.5 hours, it was just amazing. There's some points in there I was like so moved and inspired just listening to everyone praise together. But I hope it's something that really inspires you guys too. Okay, so today I'm going to go into the early Christian church, and I do want to talk about the factions in the church. It kind of seems like we're moving into that direction right now, but it's something that has, existed as Christianity evolved. As Christianity got, as it's evolving and becoming the Christianity that it is today, there were a lot of arguments and stuff like that too. So if you think about it, from its inception, from the very beginning of Christianity, it's been divided by different practices, different interpretations of religious texts. And in the early centuries, the early Christian church, there were many Christian groups floating around, and councils were held to define unified beliefs, right? So there were sects that failed to accept the agreed upon doctrines, but they were kicked out of the mainstream church, which eventually became the Catholic Church, right? Catholicism. So it's something very interesting. These things were happening constantly all the time as it was evolving, and people didn't agree with it, right? And as you go throughout the Christian history, it started off very strong with three major proponents in the last 2,000 years, which is Catholicism, Orthodox Christianity, and Protestantism. Those are the three main ones, right? But of course, there were numerous other different types of sects that came out of Christianity, like Gnosticism, Ebionism, Marcionism. And, a lot of times the scholars will debate if they were significant or not, or were they something that contributed to the development of the mainstream Christianity. Excuse me. Now, many small early sects were, I'm not saying sects, S-E-X, I'm saying S-E-C-T-S, and my nose is clogged, so that's why it sounds bad. But many of these small early sects were regarded as heretical. Right? The Montanists, which is a 2nd century movement founded by a self-proclaimed prophet named Montanus, who said he received messages directly from God, and these were more important than the teachings of Jesus. And then there was the Arianists, which is a 4th century movement that called Christ a semi-divine being, not fully divine. The Monarchianists, a movement with strong beliefs about monotheism. And there were also groups like the Sethians and the Valentinians. The Carpocratioans were a sect that allegedly engaged in ritualized spouse swapping. Interesting. And much of what we know about them comes from the Nag Hammadi manuscripts. And some groups believe that Christ's death led to salvations. Others believe that he never did. And not all of them were monotheists. Some groups believed in 2 gods, some in as many as 30. And these groups have largely been lost to history, but they did force the larger Christian church to confront challenging issues, such as the true nature of the relationship between Jesus and God. And they develop concepts and adopt rules that help standardize and universalize their religion and agree on canonical texts that became the New Testament. And most early sects had disappeared by the 300s, which is something it's quite interesting because the appearance of these factions actually caused the church to develop much more quickly, right? Or else they would be connected to these other groups, or they would be infused with them also, right? And also around the time in the 4th century with Constantine, when Constantine Christianized the Roman Empire in the 4th century, Christianity was relatively unified by that time. And when Christianity became the state religion of the Roman Empire, the center of the religion was Byzantium, right, which is present-day Istanbul. And one by one, different sects broke away. And the first sects to break away from the Byzantine control were the Egyptian Copts, Syrian Maronites, and the Nestorians, right? So, when you look at all the different sects that existed when Christianity evolved, right? And it shows that they were actually helping them a bit. a lot of them had, these Christian sects had radically different interpretations of the meaning of Jesus' life and teachings, right? That was a big thing. And orthodoxy stressed continuity with Old Testament and classism, and heresies tended to stress newness and discontinuity, right? And most of our knowledge of early heresies come from their opponents, right? So there was the Ebionites and the Marcionites. The Ebionites said that Jesus Christ was a good Jewish man adopted by God. The Marcionites said Jesus Christ was fully God and not human. He only seemed human. The Gnostics said that Jesus was a man separate from the God Christ. And the Proto-Orthodox said that Jesus Christ was both God and man, but only one person. Right? So, and it's very interesting because the Marcionites, they started from 140 AD, right? So that's pretty early on. The Thomasines came out after that. The ascetics came out, and that sect arose in the early days of Christianity. They made vows of poverty, obedience, and chastity, and headed to the deserts of Egypt to seek solitude and communion with God, kind of thing like that, right? And you're going to see a lot of these things actually happen, but it's very interesting when you look at why were there so many factions in God's history? When you look at this, we're talking about reoccurring history, right? And it's something that actually happened in the Bible times too. And Paul talked about this, right? When you look at 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 19, you look at the original scripture, the meaning of it. It says there must be factions, right? That's the original word used, is factions. There must be factions among you in order that those who are genuine among you may be recognized, right? Because, one thing that Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 10 is he wanted everyone to be united in the same mind and the same judgment. And interestingly, factions painfully serve the church. They provide opportunity to differentiate between real and unreal Christians back then, what Paul was talking about, right? And, are we saying that factions only occur because, it only happens between the genuine and the false? And the answer is no. Paul wrote this to help brothers and sisters, genuine believers, to solve their divisions, right? But, it's true. When you have these big factions, or these factions start to come out, like we're going to start to see some factions come out, maybe even in Providence, right? It's going to reveal who is real and who's false, right? It will eventually. And it's exposing an unwillingness to submit to the proper teachings and what people really believe, right? And that's something that we have to really think about is, factions did happen before, but as Paul says in scriptures, it's these factions among you, there's going to be these factions. And you're going to be able to see through these factions who is genuine among you, and that you can recognize these people too, right? And ultimately, it says that in the end, it says, factions are the things that reveal our hearts. In our disagreements and in our divisions, it reveals our hearts. We're able to get to know each other even better. It doesn't, and of course, factions doesn't literally mean that we have to faction off and we're a different church from you. Not like that. But faction just means we're going to have we're going to disagree in certain points. We are, right? And this is why Paul wants all of us, right? According to 1 Corinthians, he wants us to measure. What is your motive? What are the words you're saying? What are your actions, right? And when we listen to each other, we're able to see if it looks or sound biblical or not, right? Or according to the word or not, right? And that's why we have to become genuine people. And I think it's something, that's why I do think it was great that Sunstein kept telling us hey, guys, we have to be those that really, really know clearly about our faith. We can't just be wish-washy about the word. We have to be very clear and very genuine. There's no other way, right? And this is something that I do think all of us have to realize and look at too and say, all right, so if this is the case, what does it really mean, right? What does it really mean for us, right? What does it really mean about my faith? I heard some things happening, but if we understand the word, that's why Sunstein kept saying, understand the word clearly, know it clearly. Because once you know the words clearly, then you're able to look at what is true and what is not, what is true and what is false. And I think that's something that all of us have to really look at ourselves now, because it's going to be tested. Especially at this time where all the chaos and rumors and stuff like that happen, our faiths are going to be tested. And that's something that we have to be very, very genuine about Talk about it. What is my motive? What you got to measure my motive, measure my words, measure my actions, right? Are they according to the word or not? And then we have to check ourselves and say, I really have to look at this again. I really have to think about this again too. It's not an easy time. For me, it's like a scary time. Like, wow, like this is never before happened. But this is my life. And I want to be able to discern properly in the right state of mind, being non-emotional, my best to be non-emotional, non-biased, take the facts, understand what's going on, and move on from there. And that's the thing that I want to look at, right? So let's get ourselves to also understand that, yeah, these things happen, but it's kind of like what Sunseem said in the past too, is sometimes these tribulations push us faster to our destination, just like these factions happened in the early church, but it forced the church to solidify, unify, and have their complete and actual doctrine made ready so that they can eventually become the state religion of Rome, right? So, we have to understand is if like this week's message said, like Jesus, if he focused too much just on the tribulation, then he couldn't get anything else done. He couldn't fulfill the will of God. Ultimately, we have to fulfill the will. What does the will want for us right now? Okay? So that's why I wanted to go over the early Christian church, and I hope it's something that really helps you guys out too. Okay? So that brings us into today's song of choice for today, right? Song of choice for today. And today's song of choice, it's coming as a request. Okay? So it's a request from Chris over there in America, and he said, why did he choose this song? This song is called Everything You Do, and it's from a group called River Valley. I think it's also a church too, right? And I asked him, why do you like this? And he says, this song, it makes me think of everything God has done for me and helped me with in the past. When I listen to it, it gives me strength to move forward. So very, very meaningful song. Hope you guys really enjoyed this, right? This is River Valley with Everything You Do.
Young and reckless, I was on my own, but longing to be alone, a shadow wishing for the light, and I was drifting when you found my heart. A heavenly restart, and still it takes my breath away. I've been lost if it was not for you. I'm in love with everything you do. I will only sing your praise. Now I've tasted, now these eyes have seen. Your goodness never leaves, and Lord, you love me through and through. Yeah. I'd be lost if it was not for you. I'm in love with everything you do. I will only sing your praise. Jesus, I belong to you.
And what an awesome song that is, River Valley with Everything You Do. And I hope you guys are really inspired by that. And big thank you to Chris for that request. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, which leads us into the last segment for today. And of course, every single Wednesday we have Health is Happiness. And I did make a mistake. I said it was the spleen, but spleen was last week. We're going to actually listen to part 1 of the liver. And I do think this is super, super important to know about the liver. A lot of problems happen because our livers aren't functioning well. Super big shout out to Dr. Abe, part of the Rapture Collective. He's the first one rapping in that song, All My Thanks and Love. I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm a big fan, Dr. Abe. So everyone please welcome Dr. Abe with Health is Happiness.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Health is Happiness. Today, we are continuing our organ series. I'm really enjoying discussing the body and teaching everyone a little more every week. Let's today discuss the liver and gallbladder, 2 organs intricately related to each other. Okay, so the liver is a triangle-shaped organ that tucks under the diaphragm on the upper part of the right-hand side of the abdomen. For simplicity, it consists of 2 functional halves, a right half and a left. Now the liver is particularly important because it has a dual blood supply. What this means is that it receives blood supply to keep it alive and functioning, but it also receives blood supply from majority of the GI tract, that is, the stomach, small and large intestines. Because of this, it effectively acts as a blood filter from the things that the GI tract absorbs from the foods we've ate. In terms of the gallbladder, it's actually a pear-shaped organ that lies directly on the lower margin of the liver. Okay, so now we've understood the anatomy. How are these 2 organs related by function? Well, this is all related to bile. Now, bile is a fluid that is originally made by the liver. After being produced, the bile is then stored within the gallbladder. The role of bile is to help digestion, particularly of fatty foods. So the liver is constantly producing bile and filling up the gallbladder storage. Then, when we eat fatty food, the fats enter the stomach releases hormones, and those hormones act on the gallbladder. Those hormones cause the gallbladder to squeeze out the bile into the bile ducts, which deliver the biles into the small intestines. Here, the bile can then combine with the fats from the food we've ate and allows us to absorb them. Okay, so bile, that's our first big learning point from today. Let's now track back to the other functions of the liver. The liver has 4 main functions. The first is storage function. So the liver stores glycogen, and think of glycogen as packets of sugar which can be released whenever our blood sugar drops, say for example when we've been fasting. The liver also stores vitamins, particularly vitamin A, D, E, K, and B12. The next function of the liver is synthetic function. So the liver produces bile, like we spoke about, but the liver also produces blood proteins like albumin and clotting factors, and these have so many important roles in of themselves. The third function of the liver is energy function. So the liver helps regulate the 3 main nutrients of the body, that is sugars, fats, and proteins. It's actually also the major site where cholesterol from our food is processed and converted into fat for storage elsewhere in the body. The fourth and final function of the liver is detoxification or filter function. So as we spoke about, the liver screens the blood from the intestines and can help us get rid of medications, alcohol, and other toxins such as ammonia. Let's now move on to how we can test the liver and gallbladder function. The first way, as always, is through blood tests, aptly named liver function tests. This test gives us a lot of information about the liver. It can tell us about the liver if it's injured itself, or if the liver isn't doing its functions. That is, whether or not it's making those blood proteins, whether or not it is producing bile, and whether or not it is filtering out those toxins. Those toxins will build up in the blood, and that's sort of like a biomarker that the liver isn't doing its job. We then have a battery of imaging that we can do. We can do a CAT scan, an ultrasound, a fibroscan, and even an MRI. All have their pros and cons depending on which disease we are suspecting. Well, so we've learned the anatomy, the physiology, and also some basic tests. This is our foundation for the next lecture. So join me next time where we will discuss the different diseases and then how we can maintain a healthy liver. See you then.
And thank you so much, Dr. Abe, for that wonderful episode of Health is Happiness, talking about the liver. I believe this is only part 1, so we'll get part 2 next week. Super grateful and thankful. Like I said, these are real doctors, really busy, and they're taking their time out to teach us about our health and our body, our organs. So big thank you, big shout out to all the doctors that are working on these episodes too. All right, so there it is, guys. That leads us to the ending of today's podcast. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. Have an amazing and awesome Wednesday service, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know. I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like